Hey treasures, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys about the time that I almost got with my brother's best friend. Yeah. Grab some snacks, take out a notepad, and let's get on with the story. It happened when I was in high school, and I believe he became friends with this friend in... What grade was this? Like, what grade did this happen? I believe he became best friends with this person in the 10th grade, if I have this correct. And no, 9th grade, the beginning middle. And I remember I was in this class with this girl, and I remember her telling me like she had this crush on this guy, and I was like, okay, you know, like, you're just hearing like your friend out, getting all of the tea, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna call him, oh my god, we're gonna call him Jameson. So Jameson was in our grade, and so she kept talking about Jameson, and I had another friend there too, so I had these two girls, and one girl was talking about how she had a crush on Jameson, and the other girl was just like, oh no, like, Jameson's not cute. And at this time, Jameson had like the skater boy hair like all around, like they call it like the Justin Bieber now almost, but like no, it was skater boy in my day. So we're just gonna go with that. Never seen him before. I don't have any class with him, so I'm just like, okay, you need to show me like when we're together what he looks like who is this guy. So I remember one day, like a little bit after like she was telling me this guy that she had a crush on, she shows me who this guy is, and I'm just like, telling me about this guy for weeks, and he looks like that? Huh? Now I know what you're thinking. How did you get with your brother's best friend? Stay tuned. She's telling me this, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, you're going all crazy about him? Like, seriously? Okay, like, you know, to each their own. I'm not gonna judge that much or out loud. Okay, do your thing, chicken wang. And there I was like, okay, I know who this guy is now, and she would just talk about him, and I'm just like, what is all the hype? A couple months passed by, and then my brother starts hanging out with this person. I was like, no, it's not the same person. It was. Wow, small world type thing. And so my brother starts getting really, really close to Jameson, and like, long story short, they end up being like really, really good friends. And so my mom, like, I love that she like allowed this, would like let our friends sleep over and like us sleep over at our friend's house. And so it just turned out like Jameson was like always like coming to my house on the weekend. I don't know what it was, but I had like this attitude towards him, and he never even did anything to me. I just remember like I would be so rude to him because I was just, and now it just like kind of like, oh my god, I can't believe you were such a bitch. Like, makes me like feel really bad, but I was such a fucking bitch to him, and I don't know why, other than the fact that it was like I had these two girls, you know, the girl that had a crush on him, and then the girl that was like, he's not that good looking, but like I can see where you're going with that, just talking about him all the time and like hyping it up. And I was like, he's like nothing, like, why are you making it out to be like this big thing? And so the fact that I just had to constantly like hear about him, the fact that he was in my house now, and like I'm, you know what I mean, I'm kind of hearing about him like through my brother and all this shit, and I'm seeing him all the time, it annoyed the hell out of me. And I just felt like I couldn't take it out on anybody except for him whenever he was at my house. So I was just like such an unwarranted bitch to him, and I feel so bad about it now. And like maybe that had something to do with like how the story turns out. My girl like found out like my brother and him were really good friends, so she was like, oh, what? They're good friends? Like, can I sleep over your house? Like, when he's sleeping over? Yeah, like, I'll put that together. And now thinking about it, even then I knew, I was like, yeah, there's no way in hell you're sleeping over my house, because her and I were friends, but like I didn't really like her that much. Like, I didn't really care about her that much at that point. And I was like, you're not about to use me to sleep over my house because you never wanted to before. And you know, you have some friends that like you go to for different things. You have some friends that you like sleep over, and some friends like you just don't. Like, she was just like, just a no. Like, we would hang out after school sometimes, but not at this point. And like I was not about to like let a hoe like use me, you know what I'm saying? The sun's going down, so the lighting's gonna change. And so I remember that I was like, yeah, like, you can come over or whatever. And eventually, as time went on, I stopped being like such a bitch, because my girl ended up getting like a new crush, so I wasn't hearing so much about Jameson anymore, so I wasn't getting annoyed anymore. And let's fast forward a year. I'm not kidding. So fast forward a year, and Jameson and my brother are still like best friends, and he's still coming over all the time, and he's starting to get more attractive to me in a sense. And I say that really lightly because he was never ugly, but because he wasn't all that, and hearing about him through my friend telling the stories about him like he was all that, it was not what I was expecting type of thing. Does that make any sense? No? Okay. I was over it now. Like, I wasn't even talking to that girl anymore, and so I didn't hear about him anymore. He was still at my house, and he was a nice kid. Like, he was fine, and I moved on from being a bitch to him. So let's get into where things get interesting. When he would come over to my house, I didn't necessarily care in the sense of, like, if I was doing my own thing and I was in my room or something, I wasn't about to go and leave my room or what I was doing to go and hang out with him. So it would just be like, if I happened to want to be downstairs or I was bored, then I would go over and like hang out with my brother and his friend. But other than that, like, I would not intrude on like their time together. And I remember one day things took a turn, and so he ended up coming over to my house one day. I was bored, and it was around like 8 p.m. or something like that. And at this time we had a computer in like our upstairs living room, because we have like a living room downstairs and a living room upstairs. They were in my upstairs living room, and my brother was on the computer and Jameson was on the couch. And so I was bored, and I was like, okay, whatever, like, I'll just come and chill. And my brother like did not mind, by the way. Like, if anyone had their friends over, like, no one cared if you didn't give them space. Like, no one was like touchy like that in my house anyways. So I was sitting on the couch with Jameson, and like my brother's like busy on the computer, and so me and Jameson are sitting on the couch, and like we're not really sitting next, like we're next to each other, but there's like a lot of space in between us. Like, I don't really understand how this happened. At one point we're watching a movie, and I don't remember what the movie was, and so I'm sitting on the couch but my legs are up. So I'm sitting and my legs are up. I love how you can like see it. So my legs are up, and I'm like sitting like this, but I'm like looking, and the TV is like where the camera is, and he's like just looking there. So just so happens he ends up like sitting on the couch too, and he puts his legs like in between mine on the couch. Does that make any sense? So it's kind of like scissoring, because like his legs are like in between mine, and so like my legs are on top of him and his legs are like on top of me in a sense. And I was chill with it because I'm like, he wants to like lay down whatever too and like get comfortable. And so then we are kind of like stealing like these glances at each other, and we're kind of like having this like secret like conversation. And keep in mind, my brother is still in the room, but he's just on the computer. And so I'm like, this is an interesting turn. And so I remember like me and Jameson keep like watching the movie, but we're playing like weird like footsie. So like his foot is in between my legs and my foot is on top of his thigh and very close to like something. And so yeah, we're like playing like footsies, like PG-13 footsies. I was down because I was just like, I didn't really care about things like that. Like, I didn't have standards for like little things, if that makes any sense at all. But I generally didn't. Like, if I was to kiss somebody, I'm sure you've seen some of my videos, like I will kiss somebody and it doesn't mean anything to me. So I was like, whatever. And so at one point, I think it gets to being about like 1:30 a.m., 1 a.m. And my brother like gets up off the computer and he ends up being like, I'm gonna go to bed. And Jameson's like, okay, like good night. And I was like, okay, like he's not gonna go with my brother. And so I was like, do you want to watch another movie? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And so at this point, it's just me and Jameson. Like, my sisters are sleeping, my mom's in her room, and my brother went to his room. So it's just him and I awake in the night. And so we're still like stealing like glances at each other. And I'm just like, wow, this is like a high tense like super situation, because I am definitely not going, I still at this point was like, I'm not going to shoot my shot because I don't even know if I wanted to take a shot necessarily, but I was not going to do anything to change the dynamics of our relationship. Like, if something was going to happen, like, he was going to make it happen. However, I'm going to, like, put in my flirting because flirting is just fun. Flirting is fun. You know what? I guess at this point, it got to being, like, 3 in the morning. We're still up. We're still talking. I don't know what we were talking about, but it was, like, I'm still talking to him. We're still talking, and we're, like, not that tired. We keep asking each other, are you tired? Are you tired? And we're just, like, no. Even though I knew we both were, but we just didn't want the night to end in such a weird way until, like, I felt like it was concluded that, like, something was gonna happen. At least for me, that's what it felt like. And so we're talking, and it got to be like 6 a.m. in the morning. We're still talking. I remember at one point I just took my bra off and I was like, I don't even care. I'ma just chill here. Things like progressed a little bit where we started just using like our hand. And to be honest, nothing was going to happen. We was not gonna go and like take any more bounds to like a territory that you couldn't come back from. So as much as it was just like, okay, we're exploring and like, ooh, like, let's see where this could go, the furthest I would go was literally like a kiss and like fondling. Like, I was not down for anything else in high school. So I never ended up really getting sleep. I left eventually because I was like, okay, it's weird if we're both up and it's like 8 a.m. and no one's around. Like, that's weird. And like my clothes are like all over the place. Not like that. I had like layers and I like took them off because I was getting comfortable like on the couch, you know? Like, I wasn't gonna sleep in like my socks. I hate sleeping in socks. I wasn't gonna sleep in like my bra, you know what I mean? Anyway, so I ended up leaving him and he just stayed there and just like waited it out and like pretended to like be sleeping there. But yeah. Fast forward a couple years. So nothing happened in high school any more than like us having those like little like secret things. And like sometimes when he would come over, like after that initial time, like we would still go back and not stay up that late ever again, but we would still have that like flirty thing when my brother was otherwise occupied. And sometimes like if my brother was doing something, I don't even know, but like Jameson would text me and be like, oh, like come over to the family room and like let's like, you know, like let's hang out. And so I would go, but it was just like nothing happened between us. And I remember like my sister was like, he likes you, like he stares at you all the time. And I was like, I know, it's weird. Like, it was so weird because he would always stare at me and I don't know why. And I know that sounds like so like naive and whatever, but I still like to this day don't know why he stared at me so much. Like, he was like trying to like look into like the depths of my soul, I swear. Like when high school was over, my brother and Jameson were still like good friends, but they were slowly like dwindling away because they went to like obviously different like colleges, whatever. And in like the last year, I would say, of high school, Jameson ended up falling in with this other group of friends that my brother was just like, hell no, I'm not into that. Do your thing, like we don't click. So my brother made his other new friends and Jameson hung out with like this new clique a lot, but he would still hang out with like my brother. Anyways, so when college happened, they were dwindling and then like they pretty much like weren't really friends anymore. My brother was trying to make it work. I'm really trying to not make this video be super fucking long. Anyways, so my brother was like trying to make it work because he didn't want to like lose like a good friend, but at the same time he was just like, I feel like we don't have anything in common anymore. At this point, I would just deem them not friends, and it would be like I would see him on like Facebook and stuff like that, and I would see him on Tinder. At this point, he got attractive to me, like where it wasn't just like, oh, he wasn't ugly, it wasn't just like, okay, he's getting better. It was like I found him attractive at this point. He started to get like tattoos and stuff like that. He cut his hair in the way that most hot guys have their hair, and so I was like, okay. There's always something between us in high school, and so I'm like, let me just like see what it is, because I feel like after high school's over, and especially since he wasn't friends with my brother anymore, he would be like more like honest about it. And so I'm like, let me just like figure out like what the hell went on. I want answers. And so like I said, I was on Tinder. I ended up swiping right on him and he swiped right on me, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's like mutual, it makes sense. And then we started talking and just like shooting the shit and asking each other like how's life been, because like obviously me and him didn't speak if he wasn't coming over because of my brother. And so I started to get like flirty with her because like I said, I was attracted, so I was getting flirtier with him, and he's like, you know, kind of like flirting back with me. And at one point, oh my god, I want to itch like right here and I freaking can't. Oh my god, that's annoying. Anyways, so I remember I was just like, whatever. So I was like gonna go in for it because at this point I was like heartbroken over somebody. I don't freaking know. And I mean like miniaturely like heartbroken. So I was just like, whatever. And I started asking him, I'm like, oh, like we should hang out, whatever. And then he told me something that really pissed me off. It tells me that me attractive, obviously, but it could never be anything more because he's like, I can't date you, I can't do anything with you, you're my best friend's sister. No, that's not happening. I can't do that. And at this point, like I said, they weren't even really friends anymore. And so I was like pissed off because I was like, why are you using that as an excuse? Like, don't be like a little bitch. And at the same time, like, I remember I had a conversation with my brother if he cared if I dated one of his friends. And he just told me, like, it depended on how close they were. And, like, how, obviously, like, how much, what he knew about that friend. Like, if he knew his friend was a player, he would be like, no. If he knew his friend was, like, a really, really good guy and he saw that, like, we would, like, be good together, then my brother would be, like, for it. You know what I mean? So I was like, they weren't even, you guys weren't even friends at this point. I didn't say that, though, because I was like, I'm not about to fight for somebody to not be confused anymore. Screw that shit. So I was like, whatever. I unmatched him because I was so mad. I was so pissed off. I was like, you did all that shit with me in high school and you guys were good friends then, and then now you guys aren't even speaking really, and you want to say that you guys are friends, so like you can't go anywhere. I was like, bye-bye. I'm not gonna beg anybody. You don't want it that badly. Clearly, like, that's what you're trying to tell me, so I'm just gonna read between the lines. Like, I don't even care to not do that, you know? And so let's fast forward like a year later. I was coming home one day and I saw him on the train and I was like, wow, this is interesting. So he were coming off the train and I speed walked to like catch up to him, and I was like I pushed him a little bit and he like looked back at me and he's like, oh my god, hey, and he gave me a hug. And then again, we're shooting this shit because like I said, it's like a year later. At this point, my brother and him to have no contact whatsoever. And so I'm asking him, talking to him, whatever, and I was like, yeah, like, hit me up, like, we'll talk. And every single conversation I've had with him, he'd be like, oh, so how's your brother? How's your brother? And I'd be like, oh, good, he has a girlfriend, whatever. Because honestly, there was never really a time my brother didn't have a girlfriend. So I was like, yeah, he has a girlfriend, da-da-da-da, he's doing this, da-da-da-da. From that point on, and we ended up talking on Facebook for some reason. I'm not really too sure why. And so him and I were chit-chatting, and he asked me, like, oh, like, how's your brother? And I'm like, oh, like, he's fine, like, you should hit him up. And he's like, oh, yeah, like, I'll do that. And I'm like, okay. And then he starts, like, talking to me more. And I remember I got off, like, I stopped talking to him, and I went to my brother, and I was like, oh, like, have you heard from, what the hell was that? I was like, oh, have you heard from Jameson? And my brother was like, no. And I was like, oh, I was just talking to him. Like, he said that he was going to message you. And he's like, no, like, I haven't heard from him. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And so I found it, like, weird because it would be, like, he would talk to me and he would ask for my brother. And then I'd be like, I would tell him, like, a response. And I'd be like, talk to him yourself. Like, I'm only talking to you because I know him. I know you through my brother. So, like, go and talk to my brother yourself. Like, you guys are the ones that, like, destroyed your friendship. Like, it has nothing to do with me. And then he would, like, carry on the conversation with me. But, like, I was like, go and talk to him then. Like, there is no beef there. Like, go and talk to him. Nikki Glamour, if you don't know who she is, she's, like, one of the best StoryTime YouTubers. I'll have, like, her link, like, down below. And, like, this is what she looks like. But she had a story, and it was, like, she was talking about how her brother had told all of his friends, I don't know what StoryTime it was, but her brother had told all of his friends, like, do not ever go with my sister, don't look at her in that way, I will fight you. It's like a square up situation. And I'm just thinking, like, okay, what if, like, your brother and, like, let's say soulmates exist, let's say fate works, let's say love exists, okay? What if you were meant to be with somebody and that just happened to be the way that they, like, entered your life, like, through your sibling? Are you going to really step in the way of that just because they're your, like, you know what I mean? Just because, like, that's your sister? I don't necessarily understand that at all. I would understand more so if you went to the drama route of it being like, okay, your sibling and your best friend are dating, and if there's lots of drama there, you're kind of like, okay, you're gonna lose a friend at the end of the day, because you should, in most cases, go with what happened to your brother or your sister, whatever, your sibling, and be on their side. But other than that, if they were truly like perfect for each other and you kind of know both of them and you're like, okay, yeah, I can see you guys being together, I would be like, go for it. I don't even care. Like, my friends have like, my brother has like gotten with, but like has like flirted with like some of my friends at like summer parties and stuff like that. When I had friends for sleepovers, care, like, I'm like saying like y'all are grown, but like that's what I really want to say. Is Jameson would constantly be like, no, you're my best friend's sister, no, you're my friend's sister, and I'm like, my brother doesn't even care. Like, my brother has like told me he doesn't care. My brother has told me that he hasn't even had conversations with his friends about whether or not he cares, so like they're just assuming that. And it was like, I just thought it was like a classic excuse. Don't want me, that's fine. It was like the pussy way out, in my opinion. But yeah, that was the time that I got with my brother's best friend. And if you find yourself in a situation like this, I'd recommend doing whatever you want, as long as you clear it with your sibling, and like only if it's gonna be serious. I don't necessarily think you should keep secrets from somebody, but at the same time, I just think like, do you at the end of the day, because when your sibling ends up getting in a relationship with somebody else and you start dating like your sibling's best friend later on and they're with someone else, like what are you gonna do? Deny your happiness because they're gonna care, but like they're too busy to hang out with you anyways because they're with their person, and you get nobody because you like you know what I mean? Like, just think about yourself in that instance. Like, at the end of the day, you don't marry your sibling, you marry somebody else, and your sibling will marry somebody else. It's going to be like, they're gonna have their own family at the end of the day, and you're gonna have your own family at the end of the day. And yeah, you guys are family, like, you guys are family, but like, you're gonna have your own family over here. So like, clearly I'm bitter, clearly shit has gone down. But anyways, guys, I don't know why I'm talking like this, but that is it for the end of the video. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.